Giving you the backstory from political insiders every afternoon. It's Aaron Rand and Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
Welcome back. It is 3:50. Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst, joining us now. We do this every Thursday afternoon. So I'm not sure if this is maybe the most important story, but you know what? I was saying when of course, this was happening the other day, that Apple launch of the new iPhone 16. I think back to when Steve Jobs was obviously still alive, and we were hearing these things every year. You remember the days when, Carmi, when people used to line up at the Apple store the day this was announced, clamoring for their new phone?
Oh, I miss those days, Aaron. It was always so much fun. There was just this hype. Even if you weren't in the market for a phone, you went to the store anyway because it was like a giant party. Everyone just sitting there for days on end. It was awesome. And we don't do that anymore. Most of us, we order them online and we just go to the store to pick it up. We've lost something in the way. And to a certain extent, it shows the advancements of e-commerce, but also year to year, the phones there were huge improvements year to year when smartphones were still new, when they were still kind of a novelty to most of us. Whereas now, that was 2007 when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. That's a long time ago. They came to Canada a year later. Smartphones are old hat now. Everyone has one, and every year it takes a lot more to wow consumers. And we're a lot more cynical than we were way back then. And as a result, most of us are just, okay, I like my phone already. It's doing the job for me. I don't necessarily need to wait in line or splash out my credit card and go into debt because I want the latest and greatest phone. It just isn't the thing that it used to be.
Yeah, they also earned all over $1,000, I think, back in the day either, which is something worth noting. But with respect to the iPhone 16, the launch that happened at last week, this week, whenever, I guess a few days ago, is my question, if and why would you look at this and say, yeah, this is definitely time for me to upgrade? I mean, are we there yet in this phone?
I mean, you would look at it if you are already in the market for a phone. And this is advice that I give anyone, regardless of whether Apple has had its announcements or Google or Samsung or any other company, if they sort of are trying to sell you their latest and greatest. It all comes down to where you are at with your current phone. And my advice to everyone always is look at what you've got. If it's still doing it for you, then there really is no reason for you to go out and get another phone. If the battery still holds for the day, and if your apps still run smoothly and they don't crash on you and the phone doesn't sort of lag and freeze up when you need it most, if it's still functional and reliable, then there's really no reason for you to get another one. The concept of phone as a virtue signaling device because you want to be cool for your friends, that can get real expensive real quick. And so if your phone is on the way out, and I'm looking at my phone right now, it is time for me to get another one. I my battery is starting to go. I've got to keep it plugged a little more often than I used to. I'm in the market for one, but I certainly wouldn't change my schedule, change my timing because of it. And I wouldn't rush out because I want my friends to think I'm cool. And that really is I think that's the lesson here. Apple wants you to buy a phone, but look at your needs first. They matter a lot more than wants.
By the way, I'm looking at the site on the Apple site now. So the iPhone 16, not the Pro, just the iPhone 16 is $1,129 for the basic model. That's a lot of money.
It is, and it goes up very quickly from there. If you get the all singing, all dancing 16 Pro Max, and you max it out with as much memory as it can have, a terabyte of storage, that'll be $2,349 before taxes. And so you're looking at something that's probably more expensive than the best laptop that you ever bought. Now, granted, smartphones today are, of all the things that we buy, all the tech toys that we have, the smartphone is probably the most important device that we will own. It's the one that we use most frequently. It's the one that's always within arm's reach or in our pocket. So for some people, if you use it for work, or if you're a digital creator or a software developer, then it might be worth it for you to kind of move up the food chain. But for the rest of us, if all you're doing is scrolling Facebook and TikTok and sending messages, you can probably get away with one that's a little bit less expensive. I promise you, your friends won't think any less of you.
So I want to move on. We don't talk the whole time about this, but I just want to ask you, from what you know, from what you saw during this announcement, is this it? I mean, is there enough new stuff or different stuff in here that makes this an absolute must?
Yeah, the thing that really stands out here is that it will run, it's built from the ground up to run artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Apple calls it Apple Intelligence. And so it'll be ready for these very compute-intensive AI applications and workloads going forward. So if you want to have a phone that has the horsepower to handle all the stuff that's coming in this AI era, you're going to need an AI-enabled phone. So, but the good news here is the apps that are specific to AI, Well, they're not really widespread yet. The industry is still figuring it out. So, yeah, you're going to need an AI phone, but probably not today.
All right, let me move on from that. I like this list. What jobs will survive in the AI boom? Now, this is from Stats Canada, so what are they figuring?
So they are saying that, for example, if you are in healthcare or teaching, you're a family doctor, you're an engineer, you're probably in fairly good shape because it's a job that is very difficult for AI to replace. But the flip side is if you are a software developer or an office worker, and these were jobs that, in the first era of tech, when computers replaced all the old manual machines that used to be in an office, these were the folks who basically ruled the roost. Now AI is coming for those jobs, and StatsCan says that they're more vulnerable. What they did was they looked at jobs and they determined which ones were highly exposed to AI, which ones were at risk of being replaced by AI, and which ones might benefit from it. And in some cases, there were some jobs that weren't AI compatible at all. So, for example, if you work in construction, AI really isn't going to do anything to take your job away because there's no way for software to replace somebody building a concrete floor. And what's interesting about this study, though, is it shows what jobs are at risk, but it doesn't talk about all of the jobs that will be created by this new technology. And every time there's a technology revolution, there are always entirely new classes of roles that
Right.
come out of the woodwork, and we're not seeing that report this time. So the news isn't as dire as StatsCan wants us to think it is.
Anything in there on radio pronouncers?
Unfortunately, creative industries, and we've seen this with all the misinformation and disinformation flowing around on social media, we are seeing it's actually fairly easy to replicate voices. Can you do it well? No. Does it have soul? Absolutely not. I still want to listen to humans, and I'm still listening to you, Aaron.
Okay, Carmi, let's move on to the next topic, if you can be ready for this. What's this deal on LG display? What's stretchable micro LED?
So this was on display at Seoul Fashion Week, and LG, they showed it's a stretchable, foldable, flexible display that is essentially woven into clothing. And so imagine you put on a jacket or you wear something, you wear a pair of pants, and it's got an actual display built into it. It's not glass. It's fairly small. They're just a few inches in size. They said nothing about how much it would cost. They said nothing about resolution or performance, but they showed these things on the catwalk and everybody went absolutely bonkers. They thought it was the coolest thing they've ever seen. The reality is we've gotten used to screens being rigid and glass and fragile, and we're moving toward folding screens. You can buy a smartphone with a folding screen. We're now moving towards screens that can be incorporated into soft surfaces. And LG, even though they're not selling it yet, they were just demoing it, it's only a matter of time, maybe a few years, that we're going to see screens in all sorts of places that today would be just beyond our imagination.
Great. Okay. I'm just not sure why there would be a need for this necessarily, but I guess...
Oh, just to impress your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much impress your friends.
Look at the TV in my pants. I get it. Okay. And then finally, for those of you who might be considering a trip to Mars, it looks like it's getting closer and closer, huh?
Yeah, Elon Musk says they are going to launch an uncrewed Starship to Mars in 2 years. And the reason that's notable is Earth's orbit and Mars orbits, they have to kind of align with each other. They call it the transfer window when they're close enough for the flight to be feasible, the shortest flight. And so they're saying that Starship will be ready for an uncrewed test mission to Mars in 2 years. They'll attempt a landing. If that works, they will attempt the first crewed flights to Mars in 4 years, in 2028. Now, this all sounds very exciting and it's an awesome headline, but I've been following Elon Musk for long enough. This is what this guy does. He sets very aggressive timeline targets, and then everything just shifts to the right. He never meets his deadline.
Oh,
so
okay.
At some point we will get there, and it'll probably be some SpaceX hardware, probably based on Starship. But if we expect this thing to happen in 2 years, he said it now. He posted in RX over the weekend. But 2 years are going to come and go. He'll say nothing about it, and he'll just ignore anyone who asks him about it. This is classic Elon Musk. He got our attention, mission accomplished, but the actual mission to Mars probably take a little bit longer.
Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst. Carmi, as always, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Great being with you, Aaron. Thank you.
You bet. 4 o'clock. Let's get to news next. James Meddy on the other side.